Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Chase Doesn't Know podcast. I am honored that you're here to listen to another episode. My guest for this episode is a good buddy of mine, and if you have listened to the podcast for any period of time, you probably know who he is. Karl Wiggers is a good friend and has also been the producer, official / unofficial. I guess he's official. Well, he can't be official because I don't pay him. So we'll say half official producer of the show, and he does an amazing job, but he works in media day in and day out. He produces lots of video content and audio content during his day job for Farm Bureau, and he is a country boy. He grew up on a farm. His dad's a farmer. If you've heard him speak, or when you hear him speak in a minute, you'll know he's a little bit country. So his job is the perfect combination of country and media because he spends his days doing stories about farmers and producing podcasts on the farming industry and covering the things that are happening in that world. Also, him and his wife are good friends of my wife and myself. So we have a little fun talking about them building their house and a few other things that we have in common. So thank you again, Karl, for hanging out and being the guest this run through. I really enjoyed it. Can't wait for the next one. We talk about flying and other things. And I hope you enjoy this conversation with my good friend Karl Wiggers. My sponsor for this episode, an official sponsor, is Raising Cane's. Raising Cane's of Central, to be more exact. Yes, Raising Cane's, as many of you know, and if you know anything about me, is my favorite fast food restaurant. And they have been gracious enough. The wonderful manager of the Raising Cane's in Central has been gracious enough to sponsor this episode and potentially more episodes of the podcast. So you should definitely, if you're ever in the Central area, stop by Raising Cane's in Central City. It's definitely, I can say without a doubt, the best canes around, best run canes, the cleanest, and it'll have the most quality food. I can guarantee it. Thanks again to Cane's for sponsoring this episode, and I hope you enjoy my episode with Karl Wiggers.
I feel really bad because, I mean, I know a lot of the memes. I share a lot of the memes, and for so long I've known about The Office, but I've never watched it consistently. I've seen like an episode here and there, but I've never watched it. So
you've been a poser memer?
I feel like it. I feel like it. It felt like I don't know. I feel like a real punk, but all of a sudden now that I'm watching it, we're on like season 7, and I'm like, I feel like I belong now. So it's been fun.
Yes, everybody says like that show. We're recording, by the way, right?
Yeah.
All right, sweet. This is a perfect place to start because I was just thinking as we were about to start, we could talk about TV shows.
We're in your office, so let's talk about The Office.
That's right, exactly. Everybody said that like the season 2. Maybe season 3 was like the best of The Office, which I think's probably true. I think season 2 like is definitely, if not, it's definitely the funniest. But on our last watch through, because like the first season is okay, and then like the last couple seasons, once Michael leaves, it's just not like
Michael leaves.
Oh, sorry. You knew
Freaking
that.
spoiler!
You knew
alert,
that already.
No, I did not know that.
Well, there's no way you couldn't have known that.
Well, now I can't.
Oh, well, sorry.
Can't unhear that.
Spoiler alert.
We're on I just told you we're on season 7.
The show
You've seen
is like
it so many times.
50 years old. I thought that you already known this.
I think I actually did know that.
Okay, good.
Giving you a hard
All right.
time. But we're not there yet, you jerk.
So anyways, once something happens that changes the dynamic of the show that I won't give away, it's not quite as, maybe not quite as good, but on our last watch through, I think it was like season 5, if I remember, like season 5, yeah, was probably just as funny as season 2. What season are you on right now?
I'm going to say it one more time. 7.
7, okay. You're on season 7 and he hasn't left?
Maybe it happens. I don't know. Holly just came back. They had like the 3rd or 4th Christmas party. It's where he scrapped the whole Christmas plans and like did the classy Christmas where he was wearing like the velvet jacket.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, Holly.
Man, there's like so many episodes to that show.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I've heard other people say like, "Oh, this season's the best season." I can't tell because it's like we're first watching it for the first time,
right?
And I don't have any like reference point. Also, because I watched it we watched it pretty quick,
back to back. Yeah,
and we watched 7 or 8 episodes, on a weekend.
Yeah,
and it's like I don't remember
And with
what
the whole
season 2 or 3 happened, because it all runs together.
Binge feature on Netflix, like you don't really know what you just hit next.
We went from one season to the next. It was like, man, that was a great episode. And then the next episode, and we're like, oh, that was the finale. That's why it was such a great episode. But we didn't realize it until the beginning of the next.
Right. Yeah. That show. My favorite, I think probably my favorite scene in the entire show is whenever they have to do the CPR training.
Oh my gosh!
And Dwight
pulls out his
yes, and cuts the face off of the dummy
knife,
puts it on his face.
Yeah, but that's an example of one of those scenes I knew very well because it's on Facebook.
Yeah,
and every form and fashion, and so you see the memes, you see the clips. So I've seen that a lot, but seeing it in context, and also, I mean, seeing Dwight's character through the entire arc, and it's like, oh, he's always crazy.
Who is your favorite character?
It's hard to say. I had this weird thing for Andy.
For Andy? Okay.
He's so freaking goofy, but also I think part of it is because of my buddy Andy. Kind of made like I don't know if I can say this, kind of made a joking like, hey, here's who is on our staff. He's a coworker of mine.
Oh, okay.
Here's our staff in office characters.
Oh, like he lined y'all up with
and I got put with Andy somehow. I was like, I'm totally the lovable Jim.
And this was before you saw the show?
This is as and I was like, oh, I had no input or no like frame of reference. I was like, I guess, okay, cool. I like Ed Helms. And then I started watching. And at first I was like, the heck, dude? Andy's such a goober. But anyways, so that may be why I'm kind of have this affinity towards Andy. But
so what is he doing currently where you're at in the show?
Andy?
Yeah.
We just watched the episode where he hosted his sales seminar. Small business seminar. It was all just a train wreck.
So terrible.
Yeah, I don't know if I got a favorite character.
I was gonna say, without giving anything away,
I also really love Kevin.
You made change from Andy.
Oh, I mean, and I think a lot of my Andy comes from the fact that that's who I am in my
quote unquote
my office. But I also really love Kevin. He's just such a goofy character. Very unfortunate. I can't do it on the podcast, but his smile, every time he says something mischievous or something,
everyone's picturing his smile now in their heads.
So I do like him, but I don't know. It's a fun show.
It is. It's great.
We haven't watched too much lately. I mean, with the roommates and.
You have roommates?
House. Yeah, we got roommates.
I mean, I know who they are, but who are they?
My sister-in-law and brother-in-law, Brooke and Thomas Wimberly.
Nice.
They've moved back from LA. Everybody.
They moved back and now they're homeless, so they're living with you.
Well, they're actually going to be. They're going to be our first renters in our venture into owning rental properties. By rental properties, I mean a rental property.
Your current house.
The current house we're keeping when we're building. So any of your avid listeners may remember Thomas from episode 1.
Episode 1, very first.
The original, the OG.
Inaugural episode.
So yeah, they moved back from LA in 1st of July. So they've been living with us since then, which has been great, honestly. I didn't really know what to expect. The house is not huge, but it's not small. So I was like, I knew we'd have our own space, but sharing we only have one TV in the house, and it's in the living room. So sharing one TV, sharing really crappy internet, it's kind of a...
It's a good thing they love The Office too.
Yeah, it works out really nice. That's the only thing we watch really on TV is that. Or Thomas, moving from an apartment to... He's been in apartments since I think his first rental forever ago now. So he's finally got his own yard. And he's like, it's kind of fun.
They have a dog too, don't they?
They have a dog, yeah. Little bulldog.
So what's it like living with a family / really good friend? And now that you're basically almost 30. It's
honestly a lot of fun. Brooke and Thomas they've been great. They're constantly dude, is there anything we can do to be I mean, I know we're imposing, and we offered it to them. It's been super easy though. And I mean, in LA they didn't have a dishwasher, so they're
what? They never did. I think didn't Luke tell us that they didn't have a dishwasher in San Francisco?
I think so.
That is crazy. You have to have a dishwasher.
they're it takes too much real estate.
Yeah, I guess so.
In LA, but they're in this real, like, they're very conditioned to doing dishes, and that's one of the things. I got kicked out of my kitchen the other night.
Really?
Brittany cooked dinner.
That's fantastic.
And I was feeling guilty because my wife cooked dinner, and I was like trying to help with dishes.
Yeah.
While she went and got ready for bed, and Brooke and Thomas were like, "Hey, get out of the way. We're gonna handle this." And I'm like, nice. "Oh my gosh, can't do the dishes in my own house." But they've been incredible. I don't know. It's honestly really fun. I feel like Thomas and I probably don't get as much work done whenever I'm working from home.
Are you working from home often?
Kinda, yeah. I mean, I probably go into the office once a week.
Oh, so you're home like most of the week?
Most of the week, but if I'm not, like, I mean, this week I was out on the road 2 days.
Oh, right. Driving around,
shooting video.
And so Thomas is free. I know I actually talked to him on the phone like yesterday. Randomly, he called me, but he said he's like freelancing and stuff. So he's working at your house.
Yeah, he's working at the house and sitting at the kitchen table, which has been honestly really fun for the first week or so. It was like, this is cool, because he was sitting, like, he got a new MacBook, so we're both sitting MacBook to MacBook looking at it.
Wow.
Like at our kitchen
MacBook
table.
Bonding time.
Yeah, it's real special. But
sounds real heterosexual.
But we're both sitting at the kitchen table, and he's working with headphones on. I got headphones on, and we're just trying to work. But it's really hard because, like, every 5 minutes I come across something that I'm like, dude, check this out.
An office meme.
Yeah, an office meme, or he's showing me stuff. We're just chatting. We're really good. I think we're pretty good friends. He might disagree. I don't know. I think we're really good friends, and we're very similar, and we have a lot of interests that are alike. So we sit there and just talk a lot. So
we probably should have told Brittany and Brooke to like turn the volume down while we talk about this, because they're like, oh, the boys are just sitting at home hanging out all day, and we're out here working.
Well, that's not the case. Thomas actually, dude, I don't know how he does it, because he works like most of the day off and on. It looks, I mean, I'm pretty sure he's working. He's always showing me little things he's working on.
Yeah.
And then, but he doesn't stop. Like in California, he worked, I think, 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 even. And at California time, like, not like whatever, but I think even here, he's still working something in that ballpark, 9 to 5. Okay. And then after dinner, a lot of times he'll pull his computer out and keep working. He's just like he's a hustler.
Nice.
He's always working on something. He's got so many different freelance clients.
Yeah.
And his own work too. So he's like always got something he can be doing.
What other TV shows do you like? Since we're talking about TV shows.
I started to say this a minute ago. So we're not really watching any other TV shows. We have watched TV shows. Britt and I, we like to. We've binged a few. We were talking about it yesterday. Money Heist.
Oh,
Have we talked to y'all about that?
No, but so last night Tori's parents were over, and so Mr. Larry had the remote before I got home and was flipping through, and I forgot that we have an Apple TV Plus subscription free for a year. So he's on that looking through everything, and he starts a movie. So then after the movie, I'm like, oh, we need to start watching this stuff. So I flipping through all kind of stuff, and then I saw Money Heist, and I was like, this looks awesome.
Money Heist is awesome. I like heist movies. I love the Ocean's movies are probably some of my favorites.
Is it American or British?
It's Spanish.
Money Heist is
like in Spain.
Oh, okay. So it's European thing?
Yeah, but it's dubbed all in English.
So they're talking in Spanish the whole time?
Their
lips are different?
Their lips are talking in Spanish, and the audio is English.
And it doesn't like just piss you off?
It kind of does. Yeah, I mean,
but it's still good.
You kind of get past it.
Okay.
Some people can. I can get past it. But there are times where, like, the emotion in the face of the Spanish speaking does not match the emotion in the English audio. But I think it's a cool story. It's interesting, but it's like this super. I mean, do you know, like, the Ocean's movies where they're like this very elaborate heist plan? This is, I think, even more so elaborate.
Good to know that you think it's good, because if I would have turned it on, because we started a new show last night actually randomly, and if I would have clicked on Money Heist and saw lips different than the sound, I would have immediately turned it off.
Yeah, I think, and honestly, Brittany's dad, Mr. Doug, is very, like, he doesn't play with, like, bad TV or bad movies. Like, he consumes a lot of TV, and he even, like, enjoys it. So I was like, man, if Mr. Doug can watch this and not be super turned off. What I was gonna say, I got to get this out.
Okay.
outside of The Office right now, what we're watching is a ton of YouTube, like DIY backyard, like patio stuff. Because Thomas is like all in, like fired up about having a yard and having space to do projects and stuff, which is something I've been into for a while. So he and I will like sit there and watch like a 20-minute video about somebody building like a. Last night we were watching a guy building like a concrete, like fire pit table type thing.
A concrete fire pit table?
Yeah.
Like a fire on the table?
Yeah.
What?
Like I was just like, I don't know. I find myself watching those on YouTube, and Brittany will just walk through the living room and be like shaking her head. But I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so that's cool.
Or how to build like an awesome dining room table out of just raw material. Cool.
I kind of have wanted to do that. Tori has wanted me to build a table. Brittany, but I was just like, if I do that, it's just, if it's not perfect, it's going to be total garbage.
Yeah.
And I know it's not going to be perfect on my first try.
Yeah, I built my own desks for my office, or desk.
Yeah, those are legit though.
They're pretty legit, but I still, when I'm sitting at them at the office, I'm like, I should have done that better. I should have done this better. I wish it was a little bit more square, a little bit more clean. So it's your fault, actually. I did that.
Well, you took it. All I did was put boards on a door, and then you like did the whole shebang.
I know, but I wanted to just do boards on a door.
You couldn't.
But then I couldn't. I had to overbuild it.
Yeah, and stain it and all kind of stuff. Yeah, ours were like super rough.
Yeah, so we're watching The Office and we're watching YouTube tutorials.
Nice.
Like outdoor tutorials.
There's like a bunch of legit YouTube stuff, and it's kind of like, are you a Pinterest user?
Absolutely.
Oh, you are? Okay. I am like not really, but I have the app and I have an account and everything. But it's like whenever you get on Pinterest and you're like looking, and to be clear, like looking at the man stuff on Pinterest.
Obviously, like outdoor,
exactly
storage. Like
but
I have
it's
an
like
entire storage board.
A storage board?
How to do like really good storage in your
But doesn't it makes you want to do the stuff, and you're like, oh, I could do this. I could get my life so organized. I could have this great looking stuff.
Yes.
And then I've done that before and then never done anything about it. But it's very enjoyable to consume.
Yeah. We've been tearing up Pinterest for the last year, I feel like.
Right, because you are building a house.
We are. Actually, I'm not building anything. We're funding a house being built that we're going to live in eventually, I think.
There you go. That's a good way to put it.
I feel weird. My brother is building a house as well.
And to be clear, he's funding or is he building?
They're like self-contracting it.
Oh, wow.
So I feel like he's not swinging a hammer.
Yeah.
As much. I mean, he may be, I guess. I don't know. But he's doing a lot more. He's going and picking up supplies and dropping it off at the house.
Oh, dang.
So he's doing more than I am. So I feel weird saying, yeah, we're building a house. I'm like, I just drove out and walked it today. That's all I've done.
So let's talk about that, because I did want to talk about building a house. And neither one of us are experts, of course.
Absolutely.
Maybe at some point I'll have a friend of mine who actually does build houses on here.
That would be cool.
He could give us some more detail. But you're a little more advanced than me, because you're actually almost done with the, well, as you put it, funding the house being built process.
Well, we're going to fully fund it here in about 20 days, I think.
Oh, yeah?
So,
closing?
Excited. Yeah, I can't wait.
I think fully fund it.
The banks are going to
Then you're going to owe them money for 30 years.
Yeah.
Isn't that like, let's not get into
depressing.
that.
It is
Let's not get into that.
Oh.
Okay, so I, and then also for anyone listening, it should be noted that Karl and his wife Brittany really wanted me and Tori to buy the lot.
We're not giving up.
2 doors down and build a house also.
We're not
but
giving
I'm
up.
not as rich as Karl is.
Oh my God.
And so we have to save up for a few. Okay, so tell me about the building process. Like, I mainly want to know, I guess start with like that first meeting that y'all had, and then like how you pick everything, and then like what options do you have? Have they told you no on anything? Like, have you overspent on some things? Have you saved some money here to use it there? Have you totally blown your budget out of the water? Like all that stuff. Give it to me. Yes to all of it.
To everything. No.
Okay.
Honestly, we started out looking at a different house that the builder AP Dotson had built. And that's how the conversation began. We kind of looked at it. We're like, we like a lot of it. We like the location.
Where was this one?
This was off Jubin.
Oh, right. Okay.
South.
Yeah.
But honestly, now looking back, it's a little bit further than we wanted to go anyways. But there were a few things about the house. We're like, I'm not crazy about this plan, but it was way further along. And this is at Christmas. It was way further along, and we pretty much were at the point where we could pick like flooring and some finishes. But not the plan. And we were kind of like, I mean, we could. No, price was better. But we were like, like we were getting down to the nitty gritty and like getting contracts and stuff and set up, but we weren't. There was some hesitation, so we like pulled back and but just kind of started from scratch, like the conversation like with our realtor and
shout out
Rhett Sandusky, what's up? And who's been great, but he hooked us up with, he's like, hey, let's just start from square one. Like, here's some Denham properties, here's some Central properties, some like Baton Rouge, some like in the city Baton Rouge properties, and here's some like Zachary, I think. And brutal. But anyway, so one of the Central properties was a proposed house on in the neighborhood that we're building in. And we were kind of like, I mean, that's kind of cool. Let's talk. Let's kind of go this direction maybe. We weren't really setting out to like want to build a house. We wanted to build a house eventually, but not really. We weren't setting out to do that at this point. But the price was right. The location was great. So he got us a meeting set up with one of the reps on the builder's side, and we kind of just sat down. They met us and they said, what are you looking for in lots? Here's a couple other developments we're doing. We're like, no, we like this one. And we stayed kind of where we first looked. But they said, but the plans, we have other plans if you don't like the one that's proposed on the listing.
So they had, for that lot, they already had a plan picked out?
They'd already had
the way they were marketing
proposed
it.
plan. Yeah, just something to put on MLS, I guess. Yeah. Just a plan. Which honestly, I mean, we liked that. That was one of the plans we really did like. We kind of narrowed it down. So we kind of gave them, we said, all right, we want this many bedrooms. We want about this many square feet. Want kind of the typical open concept kind of idea. So we gave them all of those things and said, well, here's a few plans. And they emailed us a few more and they said, now take whatever you don't like. If this one's maybe, say you wanted an 1,800 square foot house and this is a 2,000 square foot house plan, we can trim some here and there and get it down to where you want it. So I was kind of like, oh, well, that's kind of cool that we can kind of take this from this plan. And
so how many plans did they give you to look at?
I think we ended up getting about 6 or 7 plans.
Oh, okay.
To look at.
They kind of narrowed it down for you.
Oh, yeah. Which, I mean, you on Pinterest, that's one of my favorite things to look at also is house plans.
Yeah, I've been to houseplans.com. You should not go to houseplans.com.
It's a bad place to be,
Bad place to be.
Because everything looks awesome.
Yeah.
But
you also think like, yeah, we could build this 2,500 square foot house. Like, I need that extra room.
I need that bonus room up above the carport.
Yeah.
Which I feel like I do.
Of course.
Obviously.
Are you getting it?
No.
Bummer. But your carport will have some space to where you could do that, right?
Yeah, I'll have like a storage room on the back.
But I mean,
above it, I could.
Maybe.
No,
probably not. Okay. So you got so you had like 6 or 7, and then y'all did y'all mesh some together?
A little bit. We kind of narrowed it down to like, okay, we like the flow of this plan, and the bedrooms, we kind of liked where everything was and kind of how the laundry was, and had a good pantry. It had kind of a good starting point.
Yeah.
And we kind of added this little area. I think we made our pantry a little bit bigger. Because you can never have too big of a pantry. And we stretched the outdoor kitchen, the back patio area some, obviously.
So did they, like when you're talking through, like they pretty much just said, yeah, we can do that to any change you wanted?
Pretty much. I mean,
was it like every change you made, not like the I know you told me about the add-ons, but so not the add-ons, and this might be different with every builder. We don't know. I'm just asking for your situation because I'm curious, but was there like, okay, we want to change this wall over here, and they said, okay, that's gonna like cost more, or can you?
No, honestly, that wasn't really discussed. It was mainly like, hey, if you want to move this wall, or you want to, for one, we took a bathroom from a different plan and said we want this as our second bathroom, like the guest bath, and they're like, okay, we can kind of make that work, and they did that, but we only made changes to the plans, real like structural changes to the plans like once.
Oh, okay.
We kind of gave them like, okay, this plan we want to shrink it, 100 square foot. We want to make this bathroom change. We want to, move this wall a little bit. All those kind of things. We did that, and then they kind of came back and we were like, oh yeah, actually we want that flipped. I mean, very tiny things like we wanted, like on the outdoor kitchen, the sink and the grill were on the wrong side, so we flipped those, which they had to have all that kind of stuff for the plumbing plans and all that kind of stuff. So, but no, there wasn't really. They told us, they're like, well, there's going to be start to be a charge if we make changes and changes and changes and changes. But not, I mean, I don't think there was any real charge. I may find out in a couple of weeks. So, oh, actually, all your plan changes were this much. I'm like, I don't
extra $15,000.
I don't think that's the case. But
so when was this that y'all were doing the plan stuff?
So all that was right around January. So we went and looked at a house. I think actually Christmas Day. That evening, we went out and saw that house on Jubin.
Okay.
That's when this whole thing kind of got rolling. And by mid-January, we had already had I think early January, we had that first meeting where we got some plans. For the next few weeks, we kind of looked through them and narrowed down what we want. And I think we sent like the plans to be kind of finalized. Or we sent the plans to have the changes made in probably mid to late January, right before I went off on my international trip.
Yeah, okay.
And then when we got back, I think we got them back, the plans back.
Like the final version?
Well, the close to final. And we had to flip this and that. So probably mid-February they were locked in, if I had to guess.
So once you're done, then they go like start the groundwork and all that?
Well, they had to submit it for permitting. And that took a few weeks.
Of course, stupid government.
But honestly, and at this point, so I guess we're looking at end of February, early March, and coronavirus is starting to crank up. Mm-hmm. So we were like, oh crap, like our house is gonna be built? Mm-hmm. Construction, is that gonna keep moving? So we weren't really sure, but and one of the biggest concerns was with our government offices going to shut. We're going to get our permits back.
Not being able to do the permits.
So we got our permits back, and everything was good. And
so when did they
plans?
When was like the start date?
Day one. So I was shooting video of it, so I have exactly when it started.
Right. By the way, if you want to see drone video and stuff of a house being built, you could go check out his Instagram.
Yeah. Day one, the very first day they were like working on the foundation and moving dirt around was the day after Easter.
Okay.
Whatever day that was.
I have no idea.
I can probably find it out, but that was an exciting day.
There you go. Ready? Hey, what day was Easter 2020?
Easter was on Sunday, April 12th, 2020.
So April 13th, you said?
That was the day. So April 13th, and they told us pretty much from...
And we're August 8th right now, so that's only like 4 months.
April, May, June, July, August, yeah. They told us from the day... And we'll be at the end of August when we close, so it'll be almost 5.
4.5, yeah.
4.5, 5. But they told us from day one, like, hey, from the time that you send off plans for permitting, it'll be about 6 weeks to get that back, and then another 6 months is the timeline they gave us. And we've been way under, it feels like.
Yeah, ahead of schedule. That's not common, ahead of schedule on construction. Yeah. So speaking of, what problems have arisen from building a house, or have there been any problems?
A little bit, but honestly, I mean, a lot of that I think is pretty common. Stuff like the superintendent wasn't there, and brick guys. I hate to say, I don't want to say it like they messed up, they screwed the house up, but we had 2 different bricks that we were going to use because we're really extra.
Wow, that is pretty bougie.
We painted the house white, so they didn't really care what brick they used for most of the house. But we wanted our outdoor fireplace and outdoor kitchen, #bougie, to be a different unpainted.
I told y'all Karl was
brick.
richer than me. Just kidding.
Not after this house, for sure.
So they used the wrong brick.
So they used the wrong brick on the fireplace, and.
So you're getting $10,000 off your price now?
Not at all. No, but they did. And I guess this is like the builders were like, hey, we'll tear that brick out tomorrow and put the right brick up if that's what y'all want, or we can just credit y'all for some other upgrades. Mm-hmm. And we were like, when we got there, we're like, we don't really feel strongly enough, I don't guess, about it to do all that work and make all those changes just to hit our very specific dream and plans. And now that it's done, it's painted and it looks great. We're kind of happy with it. I say kind of happy. So it's things like that. It's not really
nothing crazy.
Nothing's falling apart or anything like that.
What so I'm curious for myself, if I was going to build a house, this would help me. Is there anything that's popped up that you didn't expect that you would have to pay for? Or do they line it out like pretty much exactly at the beginning? So once you say yes, let's do it, like exactly what you're getting, what you're paying for.
Well, I mean, I think there's probably always stuff that pops up that you're like, oh, I didn't know I was gonna have to pay for that. Like, for instance, we just got sod put down, which is exciting. Mm-hmm. We're on about just under a half acre, which for me, coming from the country, I wanted at least that. Mm-hmm. But as you know, kind of we start looking at it, I think included in our like landscaping budget is like 5 pallets of sod, which
it's not very much, right?
Didn't go very far. Yeah. And we were kind of like, at least wanted the front and sides kind of all fully sodded. Mm-hmm. And even some of our backyard, like that's what we love is our backyard. And we got an outdoor kitchen and all that kind of stuff. We wanted a yard to enjoy. And so we ended up adding, I think, 10 pallets of sod.
10 extra.
On top of the 5.
So triple. Wow.
And we got like, I'm not saying this sound extra, I mean, we got like 3 feet around the back half of the house. So pretty much enough.
Wow. So you would need like 10
30.
more.
I need like 30 probably pallets of sod to do the entire yard.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but that's extra that we had to pay for. Mm-hmm. That like 10 pallets that we didn't really know. What's funny is early on I was thinking, we might do a couple extra pallets of sod because it showed like on the upgrade list. It's like, it's X dollars per pallet, and we're like, we might do a few extra pallets. And now looking at it, it's like, that's funny because I was thinking 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And here we are 10 pallets later. But I wrote a check for that the other day, and like that's kind of stuff that you're paying for up front. That a lot of the upgrades, and it gets really complex, and it may not be the same for everybody. And I could be totally wrong, but a lot of the upgrades you pay up front, and then.
Okay.
So the builder's not building a house that is super
that you can't really
extra
pay for.
That you can't, like, they don't want to be stuck with.
Okay, so you told me this before, but I wasn't quite clear on it. So let's say you have everything set with the plans. Okay, here we're done with the plans. This is what you're getting. Then you say, okay, actually I want to do like marble countertops. So whatever the difference is between what you agreed on and the marble countertops or whatever it is, if it's like $1,000 difference, you have to write a check like whenever you say I want to do that and give it to the builder.
Not instantly.
But I mean like
that goes on your tab and
you have to pay that like during the process, not at closing.
Yes.
Okay.
But this is where it's kind of confusing, and I hope I understand this right. Otherwise it's going to be a real interesting day in a few weeks. But a lot of that, like, so say you're building a $250,000 house and you upgrade all your total upgrades, your marble countertops and your outdoor kitchen and all this stuff, ends up, maybe your flooring goes over your budget. So that overage, and then you go $1,000 over on lighting or something like that. All that tab ends up being, say, $20,000. Mm-hmm. You have to pay that up front. But then say you're on contract for a $250,000 house. Yet it appraises for $265,000 when you get down to the end of the road. Well, 15 of that $20,000 that you paid towards upgrade up front will then be worked into your down payment since it appraised for that much.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
I really hope that's what happens because all the upgrades we've paid up front would essentially go towards our down payment. And we've gotten some of those numbers back, and some of it is going that way. So
you have actually written checks for stuff, but at closing, hopefully
everything
that you paid for would go towards down payment.
Yeah.
So you may not owe as much of a down payment. All right, got it. Okay.
That's kind of how that works. So I mean, you pay for it up front. I think you pay for it up front to make sure the builder isn't left.
Has money, yeah.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
The builder is not left with a $250,000 house that it cost him $270,000 to build.
Yeah.
Whatever. So that's
maybe we could maybe whenever the guy I'm thinking of, if I could get him to come talk to us, maybe he could also
that'd be sweet.
Know more about that.
That's kind of the way I understand it, and I think that's probably very loose terms. But that's kind of the way.
So
but you're writing checks up front.
Yeah. Unless you just stick with the basics and just go.
Yeah, you can.
You can just.
And I think honestly, and this is something me and Brittany when we went to make those selections, like all the flooring that we wanted and the countertops.
I was about to ask you about that.
All those upgrades, which that meeting was a long meeting. I didn't realize how much of a meeting that we weren't prepared for that. But when we were on our way to that meeting, it was like, all right, what are we sticking to our budget on? We're not going over budget, and that's not a non-negotiable. Like, not doing it. And pretty much the only thing we were going to upgrade was countertops. And then we got there to the meeting, and it was like, yeah, we don't like these floors. We want to do better floors. Or, yeah, we want gold handles, gold hardware.
Wow.
24 karat? 24 karat, because we are rich. Not really. But anyways, we got done with that meeting, and I was like, did we just upgrade every possible thing to upgrade? And that's not totally true, but it's kind of how it felt. But.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you as like maybe the final question on the house thing, probably the most critical, is talk to me about how y'all decided and picked out everything because you get to choose everything, right?
You get to choose a lot.
I mean, they give you like the starting point, I guess, and they give you options, but
yeah.
So how do you pick like what to put here and what to put there? And
it's a lot of questions I didn't even think about, like crown molding. Do you want this kind or like this kind?
Dang.
Like, you don't think about that stuff. I mean, it's a lot of things, but a lot of it, I mean, Britt and I have a very similar taste in like what we like in a house, and like colors and stuff was pretty easy because we want a lot of the same stuff. So I kind of gave Britt a lot of that, like, hey, what you like, I like, which is true. And it's not just a happy wife mentality. But there were like decisions I had to make too. But a lot of that was pretty easy based on like the Pinteresting that I was telling you about. Mm-hmm. Like, we did a ton of Pinteresting, and like we would get to that meeting I was talking about, and we would just say, hey, look, all right, this is kind of what
you just show them Pinterest.
This is kind of what we want. Can you do something like this? And they're like, like for doors, so we did like shaker style cabinets.
Have no idea what that is.
I didn't either. I just knew the look. I was like, we want this. Oh, that shaker style. Yeah, we can do that. That's standard on our cabinets.
Perfect.
It's not the standard, but it's a standard option. I was like, cool, that's what we want. Which that decision made the decision for, you think about it, like that's bathroom countertops, bathroom cabinets. Mm-hmm. If you do any built-ins, that's what they're going to do. If you do anything in the kitchen and the laundry room, all of that will be the same thing. So it's one decision right there. Mm-hmm. But then like doors, that was not a standard option. So we had to upgrade our doors to match cabinets because we wanted that look.
Smart by the builder to do that.
Yeah. So, and they're just more expensive. I mean, you can look on Home Depot, just us, and see like, oh, the standard door is $15 and the shaker door is $30. Mm-hmm. Like whatever. I don't know. I'm throwing those numbers out, but they're just more expensive.
Yeah.
But I mean, the builder, the Amber, or actually I think it was Gabby at this point, but we did the same thing with Amber. We've had two different people working with us on the builder side, who have both been amazing. I can't believe they definitely deserve a bottle of wine after all the questions and bombarding of texts and phone calls from me and Britt. But they just had like a 5 or 6 page spreadsheet. They just worked through and like, okay, what color do you want in the bedrooms? What color do you like, wall colors, and like what color you want, round or square bowls in your sinks?
Dang.
All these kind of things. Do you want,
Which one did you get, round or square?
Obviously, we got square.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Is there a question?
I have no idea.
I have no idea either. So, I mean, there's a lot of that kind of, like, I didn't know. Like, I didn't know there was a
million things you didn't think of.
Yeah. So what color hardware do you want? Things like that.
Got it.
So it's a lot of questions, but a lot of it was answered by like our Pinterest boards and just like, oh, I don't know, what color do we want? And you start looking through all of our pins and like everything is the same. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, clearly we want that.
So it's clear that if someone wants to build a house, they should definitely Pinterest. And all the people who Pinterest now feel justified in spending a lot of time Pinteresting for their future whenever they build a house.
But I think it's probably wise to say don't Pinterest the most don't go and Pinterest a bunch of $1 million houses. I think that's kind of...
Unless you have millions of dollars.
And if you have millions of dollars, go for it.
And if you have millions of dollars, I am currently looking for sponsors for the podcast.
But yeah, I think if you can Pinterest in a reasonable way, within your means, I guess. And
is that the toughest part about building a house? Staying within your means.
Oh,
because I'm sure going in, y'all had because you were looking for houses before.
Mm-hmm.
And you were, of course, when you go on Zillow, you set the little, you want to leave the budget to any price just because you kind of want to see, hey, what is this $600,000 house?
I could maybe.
Maybe in a couple years we could get that, Or what about this? But you got to set the little price slider to whatever your budget is, just to cut out all the options that aren't possible. And usually, for me personally, if my budget's I don't know, whatever, 200,000, I usually put it at 230, 240.
Just to see.
Just to see.
Gotta see.
So
that's kind of what we did.
Okay, so when you're looking at a house, is now your build budget the same as what you were looking when you were looking for a house, or did y'all increase it?
No, it's increased, but I don't regret I don't think I regret any of the increase. And the way we're looking at it, you said a minute ago we're going to be paying for it for the next 30 years. We're going to be in this house.
Hopefully you get paid off early, but
yeah, we plan to. But this house, we're going to be here for a while,
right?
And there were things like the outdoor kitchen. You and we love to have you and Tori over. We like having people over and entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of our decisions were around being able to entertain at our house, hosting groups, hosting family. So a lot of our questions came back to, well, would we do this, if we fell into some money and could afford it and, didn't have to question that? And would we still, would that help us to entertain people? Would we use this for that? And a lot of the stuff where we made the upgrades were our countertops in our kitchen, where we're going to cook a bajillion meals and have people over and sitting around the island. That's kind of the stuff that we prioritized. Not so much. We did do a couple upgrades in the bathroom, like the master bath, because we're going to use it every day.
Absolutely. Most
So
important part.
Things like that, areas that we didn't want to go cheap on.
Yeah.
We kind of we're going to be here for a while. We might as well make the investment, and we kind of justified it. But a lot of the things is stuff just costs money.
Yeah.
We didn't even really go nuts on our countertops, and I think I don't know. I probably shouldn't give numbers, but I'm going to give numbers. I think we spent an extra $3,000 on countertops just to upgrade them from an already pretty good option.
Mm-hmm.
But when we walked our house and we're that's worth every penny. We love our countertops, and our brick fireplace in our living room, we're so glad we did that. Built-ins, you don't think about them, but
y'all have built-ins?
We put built-ins in. That's I think an extra $1,000 or something like that, or
cabinets,
$1,500 for our built-ins in our living room. But that's a very central place in our living room. So it's things like that. It adds up.
Mm-hmm.
You can $1,500 or $500 your way into a different budget range. So it doesn't take much, but a lot of it. We did go out of budget, go a little bit more than what we were planning on when we first started. But most of it are things that we would do again, and we probably just didn't have very realistic. We probably didn't have a very realistic budget when we started
for what you actually
for what we
wanted.
Knew we wanted.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff was non-negotiable. We're going to do an outdoor kitchen,
right? And hopefully, it appraises for more, and then you already have some equity in it.
That would be nice.
Isn't it crazy? I just had the thought when you were telling me this about the countertops and all that. I was just thinking 10 years ago or whatever, if I heard someone talking about countertops, I would just be like, what are you why are you talking about something so dumb?
There's
what are you
so
even,
much about
why are you
house.
even talking about counter? But now we're building, moving houses and building houses, and it's we're concerned with, I don't know. It's just I never thought I would be thinking about countertops, I guess is my point.
Oh, for
I'd
sure.
much rather be thinking about football or video games or something.
Yeah. Thomas and I have had this discussion. He texted me. We bought a new vacuum cleaner a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And Thomas was texting me. He was like, hey, y'all just got a new vacuum cleaner. Brooke and I are sitting here watching YouTube videos and reviews on vacuum cleaners. Also, I think we're adults now. But he was trying to, our interests and our cares have turned into more adult-like things, I guess. It's weird to think about.
I often think about how great those junior high and high school days were when I come home from school and just play video games and not have to worry about anything.
Yeah, I'm not a dad yet, but like the idea of like how excited I am about my outdoor kitchen, my grill outside, and like I've got a sink outside.
It's pretty tight. Oh, by the way, you're a Traeger man, right?
I am a Traeger man.
So like, is your grill built in? Is it going to be a Traeger?
No.
So like, what's your deal?
So I got a gas grill built in because that's what was standard. I really wanted a like griddle, a flat top griddle built in, which would have been sweet.
But it was an extra.
I don't think that was extra. They just don't really make built-in griddles that would have fit in our outdoor kitchen.
Okay.
But I built like our countertop for the outdoor kitchen. I didn't want to build the Traeger in because then I would kind of be stuck with the Traeger and the size I have, and I kind of want to upgrade one day.
Right.
So I just left a 5 or 6 foot gap at the end of my countertop on that wall.
Oh, before the wall ends.
To put the my Traeger right there next to my other grill.
Okay, so you could grill double the capacity.
Yeah, and I think you can get like a griddle top. I don't know why I've all of a sudden just really wanted a griddle. Like when we started this, I was like, I don't really care for a gas grill, but a griddle would be sweet. And now it's all I can think about. But I think you can get an insert for a griddle on a gas grill.
I'm sure, yeah.
And use that for like hibachi or fajita stuff, pancakes.
Yeah, pancakes is probably the only thing I could do on a griddle.
So, anyways, that's probably how I'll end up using that grill more and still Traeger everything I can.
Nice. So what's your favorite thing to grill on a Traeger?
Grill.
Let's talk about your grill journey.
That's another one. I said earlier, I'm kind of obsessive.
Yeah.
The house has been my obsession lately, just because I think it's a warranted obsession to kind of obsess about the thing you're spending a little bit of money on.
Yeah. The most expensive thing you ever will buy.
Yeah. I don't know. That private jet I want to buy.
That's true.
Another obsession.
That will cost a little more.
I'm just kidding. No, the Traeger is one of my obsessions, and I didn't even know it was an obsession I was going to have. Mr. Doug, again, father-in-law who loves to watch TV, also loves to cook and eat, and that's something he and I share. But he was joking with me one day. He's like, man, you ought to get a Traeger. And I was like, what the heck is a Traeger? And I started looking him up, and he was saying he wanted one. Mm-hmm. So I was looking him up for him, like maybe for a Father's Day gift or something from all the kids. And
then you saw the prices.
And then I saw the price, and I was like, maybe a Father's Day and a Christmas gift. But
and 2 more years of Father's Day and Christmas gifts.
But I was like, dang, that is tight. I do love barbecue and love like grilled meats. Mm-hmm. And I was like, those things are tight. You can
what makes it so tight?
It's a pellet grill.
Okay, what is a pellet grill?
Pellet. So you're getting in the charcoal. You're at the grilling game.
$50 grill, charcoal in it up.
That's what's up. And I honestly,
like a real American,
kind of want one of those now, because there's something you can't beat a burger on a charcoal grill.
I still haven't done burger on mine, but
well, you can't beat it. I don't know what you're doing with all this steak.
I've been doing lots of steaks.
Steak and venison.
Yep. The venison, unfortunately, was not good.
Yeah, so you got charcoal grills, and you got gas grills, and you got pellet grills.
So there's like pellets. So they're just little pellets.
Little pellets of like wood pellets.
Okay.
And you literally fill up a hopper, and it's got an auger that goes underneath.
Oh dang! So it feeds what you need.
And feeds the pellets into a fire pit, firebox, I think is what they call it, or something like that. And that auger speed feeds it at a rate, like if you want it to cook really low, like you dial in the temperature like you would an oven.
Okay.
So you can dial it in at 180.
Wow.
Or you can dial it in at 450.
Is that the max that it goes?
I think it is on the one I've got.
Okay.
Maybe so. And then the newer ones go up to 500.
Nice.
Which is great for searing a steak.
Right.
Get it real hot.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially it feeds at a rate based on how hot you want it to be. So if you want it like at 180, it feeds real slow. Mm-hmm. It just keeps a slow trickle of pellets going on the fire. If you want it hot, it feeds it quicker and keeps a bigger fire, hotter fire.
So it has a push button start like a lighter?
No, you just I don't know the witchcraft that happens inside that. You turn it on and you put it to smoke.
Oh wow!
And it over the next 5 minutes it lights up and
This is pretty high tech.
It's super awesome. And I didn't know what it was a year and a half ago. And then Mr. Doug just turned me on to it. And I was like, I want one. And then that became my obsession. I got one. And so now I smoke. I like to smoke stuff because you get that good flavor.
All right, so tell me about what's your favorite.
My favorite thing to
and
cook.
tell me the entire process of how you cook it.
It's really boring, actually.
Well, this is what we're here for. I'm here to learn.
I think my best thing I've cooked on it is a roast, beef roast. I've cooked a pretty good pork loin on it. I've cooked some good, I've cooked a couple pulled pork, like Boston butts.
Which item have you cooked on the grill that you got the most compliments for?
I think honestly, that roast I'm talking about. So I literally put some like coarse black pepper and big kosher salt, like the big coarse kosher salt on it, and just put that thing on the grill at like 180 or 225 or so. Just let it smoke for a couple hours. And it comes out so great. But my buddy Ryan Andrus, the worship leader at my church, is
he the bald-headed guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's also one of my just best friends. But he came over one time. He has like kids, and he's been in school. He just became a nurse practitioner, but he's been in school, and it's been really hard to hang out. So every now and then it's like we're hanging out this day, and that was the case with this time we hung out. I was like, I'm cooking. You're coming to my house. We're hanging out, and I cooked a roast, and I pulled it off the Traeger, put it on a cutting board. It's about a 4-pound roast. Put it on a cutting board. I had veggies on the Traeger at the same time, so I smoked some veggies and the roast all on one Traeger.
Do you when you smoke veggies, do you put them in tin foil, or do you just put them on
these
grill?
were in a tin foil pan, and I put a little butter, a little garlic powder.
And is it open top pan? You don't cover them? Okay. And you just let them, okay.
And I put like a little cup of water to help keep it moist and smoked.
And butter, you said?
A little butter, a little melted butter in the pan. But that's what I pulled off the Traeger and set it on the table on a cutting board. And I think we ate with our hands. I think I cut it off the...
Like barbarians.
It was awesome. But Ryan still talks about that all the time. He's like, dude, I really want to just go eat some meat on a on a cutting board. So anyways, that's probably my favorite thing I've cooked that people have raved about. I've cooked ribs on there. I'm still figuring out ribs. I've done a couple of briskets. You've had a brisket, I think, I cooked on there.
No, we had steaks.
We've done steaks, but we also had brisket
Okay,
once.
okay.
And I think the first time I did briskets, I think we had y'all over, and I was like terrified.
Oh yeah,
I was talking it down. I was like, man, I hope.
No, that was good.
I hope this is edible.
Yeah, it was good. It was real good.
I think it's one of the rules they say is like don't invite people over for the first time you cook something. But we totally broke that rule. And I only cook whenever somebody is coming over. So I was paranoid. I was like, oh my gosh. But brisket takes a long time. Yeah. And that's one of those things that with charcoal, like I don't know how to manage that fire. Me neither. To keep a brisket going for 14 hours or 12 hours. Or whatever it takes. I don't even know how would you even do that? Exactly. Yeah, so it's a long time. I'd never even thought about cooking them until I got the Traeger, and I was like, dang, I can cook brisket. I can cook pulled pork. I can cook ribs. I mean, I think people do ribs all the time on charcoal, and it comes out fine. But I had a friend of mine on Instagram I follow, Andrew, who I saw his Instagram story. He was putting on, I think it was a roast or a rump. I don't know. I don't even know if it was beef or pork. But I saw his Instagram story at like one evening, like I'm pretty sure it was like one afternoon evening. He was like putting it on the smoker. And then I woke up the next day and there was like a few more Instagram stories that he had like stayed up all night and like sat out with it while it smoked. Drinking some Coca-Cola through the night. I don't know. Yeah, Coca-Cola Classics. But I don't know, like, is that normal? Because I saw that and I was like, you can't just like set it and leave it? Like, why would you have to sleep with it? I have with my Traeger. Both times I've cooked brisket, I put it on like at 9 o'clock at night. And just set it. And maybe he doesn't have a Traeger. Probably not. If he's sitting out there watching it. Because with a Traeger, you fill it up with pellets. You fill it up with pellets and you can set it on low and just let it smoke for, 10 hours. I think I do it like at 9 o'clock at night and I get up at 7 the next morning. So yeah, 10 hours. Wow. And I'll wrap it at that point. And what do you wrap it with? Butcher paper. Oh, okay. Like that. And you leave it in? Huh? What do you mean wrap? Like you take it out and wrap it? I take it out off the grill, wrap it up in that butcher paper real tight, you know what I'm talking about? Like that heavy brown paper. Wrap it in that, and I put it back on.
And let it cook in the wrapper.
And let it cook a little bit longer. It holds heat and moisture a little bit better.
Okay.
But both times I've done a brisket, I've cooked it overnight, and Britt doesn't like it at all.
Oh, really?
Like, I mean, I can't believe you're like, just leave it and not watch it.
Oh, she doesn't. I thought you meant that she doesn't like the taste, but
no,
she doesn't like
the taste,
the fact that it's going all night.
She's a little bit paranoid. Which honestly, if I think about it long enough, I'm like, yeah, it's hooked up to power and it's a fire outside of my house.
It's a Traeger though.
Hey, I probably shouldn't be so trusting just because it's a house. But if you're an insurance agent, you're my insurance agent, don't listen to this. But yeah, briskets are a really fun one to do. It just takes a long time, and they're expensive.
Briskets?
Yeah, they're like $60-$70.
Wow, for like 4 pounds?
I think it's like a 10-pound brisket.
Oh, okay. That's
I mean, yeah, it's not bad, but you can eat it on it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
But they're so good. I love brisket.
Brisket is good. I just went to Hanacue again yesterday for lunch. Huh? With my parents. My parents invited me. Yeah.
I think my phone must have been off or something.
Right, totally. Their brisket's really good. Hanacue. All right, so hard transition here to something else, away from the hobbies and the building the house. Your professional career.
Oh yeah,
You currently have 2 professional careers.
No, mainly just one.
One is with Farm Bureau, and then the other one is you're a podcast producer for this podcast.
I am,
which is why it's so good, because we have amazing equipment that is subsidized by Karl himself and no one else. Karl personally paid for all this equipment.
I did not.
We do not use Farm Bureau equipment.
We do.
Okay, so you and also I've like in talking about you to other people, like a couple times, I say, oh yeah, like Karl helps me with the podcast. He works over at Farm Bureau. He does like media stuff for farmers, which I always say is like the perfect combination, because if anyone has been listening for the past however long, they can tell that you are from the country.
Thanks a lot.
And so you grew up on a farm. And your dad's a farmer.
He is.
But you like doing media stuff.
I do.
And film and podcasting and all that. And your job is currently a perfect mix of those 2 things.
It could not be more perfect.
So I want to hear about your job and how you got your job.
Okay.
And then what you do, mainly day to day.
So I work at Farm Bureau, which most people think, Louisiana Farm Bureau.
You're definitely going to have to explain that.
Everybody thinks, oh, Farm Bureau, like the insurance company.
Insurance.
Yeah, that's the same kind of company. I mean, it's the same family of companies, but Farm Bureau is first and foremost a membership organization.
Okay.
Made up of farmers.
So it's like a club.
A cool kid club.
Got it.
No, it's an organization that a policy development organization, a lobbying organization.
Ooh, that's a bad word.
I know, bad word, lobby. But the whole goal of Farm Bureau is to represent farmers and ranchers of Louisiana. And there are parish farm bureaus.
Aren't they nationwide though too?
There's an American Farm Bureau that Louisiana Farm Bureau is a member of.
Got it.
And it goes all the way up. Like, it starts at the parish level. It's a grassroots organization. And at the parish level, like, say Franklin Parish, where I'm from, their Farm Bureau board may get on, like, have an issue with, there may be a very specific issue that Franklin Parish is dealing with, and that board can take action and say, hey, we got farmers on the south side of the parish that, they can't travel these roads because they're falling apart. And they'll maybe work with the police jury to get some action and get some, something resolution to that issue. The same thing moves up further. Like, okay, that issue is not just in Franklin Parish. That's not just the south part of the parish that deals with that. The entire northeast Louisiana has crumbling roads and bridges. So that becomes a state issue. Mm-hmm. So Franklin Parish and Richland, and maybe some surrounding parishes, will all come to our annual convention and maybe say, hey, here's some policy that we really have got to get our roads and bridges under control in northeast Louisiana. So then it becomes something that we'll take, our lobbyists and our grassroots members will take to the Capitol and say, hey, look, we've got to have something to get we got to have roads and bridges that are reliable, that we can get our crops to the market, to Elevator or wherever. Mm-hmm. And say, if we don't do that, we can't stay in business. We can't feed the world, blah, blah, blah. It's not blah, blah, blah. I don't mean it.
Blah, 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 blah.
But I mean, it's a lobbying organization to represent farmers. The insurance company came out of that as a service.
So the Farm Bureau Federation is the club, that's quote unquote club part of it.
That's the membership organization,
and then the insurance is a branch that came after. Okay.
One of the things that started, like where the insurance came from, was, like as a member,
kind of like a benefit type.
It's a benefit. It's a member benefit. You get your voice heard. You get to have a say in like policy, but you also may get, like at one point we had a tire program where you could get discount tires, and we have we have a ton of member benefits. Like you can get 25% off at Sherwin-Williams paint.
Nice.
Or you can get discounted car seats, safety car seats, or you can get all these different things that I'm probably leaving out some of the better ones. We have a lot of member benefits. Insurance, having the ability to get insurance is one of those benefits. And it started off back in the day when farmers couldn't get their tractors and their farms insured because they're such a specific market. So they're like, well, we'll just start a company to insure it.
So farmer, it's the federation part, the club. Like if a farmer in Franklin Parish, they pay like a yearly fee and they're part of it.
Yeah, it's 40. I think it's somewhere between $40 and $50. And
that's pretty cheap.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, it's a small price to pay to be able to have your voice heard,
right,
and be a part. It's kind of investing, and the way I think of it is, you're investing into the future of the industry that you make a living in.
Is there other things that are similar to Farm Bureau that farmers are members of that like kind of do the same? Like, is there a competitor? I guess.
Well, there are. Farm Bureau is the largest general farm organization. And I say that because Farm Bureau represents anywhere from, the seafood industry all the way up to the row crop farmers in Northeast Louisiana, and hay and cattle and everything in between. There are other commodity-specific groups, like there's Louisiana Cotton and Grain. Okay. There's American Sugarcane League, U.S. Rice.
So
there are commodity-specific groups.
Okay. So do you know how many farmers there are in Louisiana? Can you guesstimate?
No.
Do you know, or how many members are?
Members, I think we have like in the 160,000 range.
160,000 members.
But a lot of that is made up of people with insurance that have no idea what that $40 they pay every year is.
Okay.
And they get upset about that.
So non-farmers can get insurance through Farm Bureau? Okay.
So you could be a Farm Bureau member.
Right. Are you a Farm Bureau member?
I am. There's a difference, though, in like, Joe Blow that's a nurse downtown.
And a farmer getting.
And a farmer.
Yeah.
There's like an active membership. Like that active is like the farmers that are members to be active members. And there are, I guess, the mostly insured. They're just members to have the insurance.
Okay.
So, and what that $40 goes to is like some of it goes towards the parish and running the parish office. Nobody's really getting paid at the parish level. I mean, a lot of people that run Farm Bureau are volunteers, and they're not getting paid. Like people that on the policy side of things, like in the grassroots organization, the membership stuff,
like the lobbying people.
A lot of that are just farmers that are passionate about the industry and want to speak out and make it better and protect it.
So which one do you work for technically?
So I work for Federation technically.
Okay.
Actually, technically, I work for a parent company that I can branch over into insurance every now and then. But it gets real complicated.
So talk to me about what why does Farm Bureau have somebody that spends all their time filming and editing video and producing podcasts?
So in the 80s, a guy named Reginald Wallace started a TV show.
That's a tight name.
Reginald Wallace. He actually was from Franklin Parish, which makes it really cool.
Nice.
Special for me, because he was from Franklin Parish, and he started a TV show called This Week in Louisiana Agriculture. He was the director of communications or director of public relations or whatever. That our department's changed a few times, but the name has changed, but the goal is not.
What's the name of your department right now?
Communications.
Okay.
With the communications department, but he started this TV show as a way to share news, and there's the 80s, before the internet really, and before we had iPhones in our hands that could give us all the news we needed. But he started this TV show to share news with farmers about what's going on across the state, and there's a lot of it was like talking with congressmen or state representatives about certain issues and sharing it with farmers, or hey, this is some sugarcane is being harvested in South Louisiana, and they worked it into like all the different markets, like it on the.
So it was like a TV show
that was working into like, I think eventually they got into like 18 different small markets across the state, like local news stations, and like that's where it kind of began. It shifted then from communicating only to farmers to communicating only to non-farmers about farmers and telling the farmer's story. The department grew, the TV show grew, other things that we did grew. We added in, once the internet came around and social media came around, we were active there as well. Not nearly as active as Elephant. But we're active on social media. We're active on like YouTube. We have a YouTube channel that we keep up with our TV show content. So that's kind of morphed, and our focus has stayed the same. We want to tell the stories of farmers and ranchers. And the goal of it is so that people understand. Maybe it's a small percentage. You ask how many farmers are in Louisiana, I don't know, but nationwide, I think the number is under 2%. Probably, I think a little higher number, I'm guessing maybe 5 to 10% that actually work in ag-related industries like banking and ag lending, or I think I would be considered in that world. But
I think so, yeah.
There are probably a pretty good percentage that's not in the loop of what agriculture is all about and what goes into producing the food and fiber that we depend on in the country. So that's kind of the goal now, is to tell that story to people that watch our show about like what farmers are doing and who they are. Because some people, there are different narratives out there about farmers. You have family farming, right?
My uncle's a farmer, yep.
So, but there are different narratives, and you've probably heard these, that like farmers are, all the GMOs are going to kill us all. And, farmers they don't care about what they're spraying on these chemicals. They're just killing the world or whatever. I'm being very exaggerated, but those narratives are out there.
Yep.
So what we try to do with our show is say, hey, this farmer that you think, and we're not aggressive or abrasive about it, but like, hey, these farmers raise their families right next to these fields they're farming, and they're spraying all this stuff in. They wouldn't spray anything more than they have to grow a successful crop to feed you and the family that they're raising. And farmers are consumers too, and those kind of messages are things we get out there. A lot of the things we talk about is like farmers are kind of the ultimate tree huggers, and they're trying to make the ground and the land better than the way they found it, because that makes it more productive for them. They're not trying to tear it apart.
Right.
So those kind of narratives, and I think when you put a name and a face with this guy that's raising, has 10 chicken houses in the north part of the state. No, he's got 10 chicken houses. He's just this mega. If you got 10 chicken houses on a few acres, you're probably this millionaire, and it's not the case. I think I think most people are so unfamiliar completely with farm life and like the differences, because like my uncle's a farmer, so like if I think of, but even from the limited knowledge I have of him like doing stuff, it's like him, his brother that does it, they have like a couple workers, and they do like a couple thousand acres or 3,000 acres of like 3 types of plant or something. But so like that's what I was familiar with. But then hearing about all the other possibilities of one guy being a farmer and doing like a smaller type with maybe some help, and then you got people that have like a bigger operation, then you got people that raise animals, then you got the seafood people, and like, so y'all are talking about all that stuff. We're trying to show all those facets of it. And there are corporate farms, I'm doing air quotes, there are corporate farms out there that have big time money behind them, and they there are those that like are not, I don't know about publicly traded, but there are like groups that own a big chunk of land that is used for this production, and they have investors that they're beholden to. Mm-hmm. There are some of those, but the majority is not that. The majority are people like your uncle or my dad who, we're just they're going out and borrowing $1 million every year to plant a crop, to raise, to feed the world, and then hoping to make that money back at the end of the year to pay the bank back.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of them are doing. So we try to just show that, like, hey, these are just everyday people that are working. My dad gets on this soapbox every now and then, which I used to. We'd be riding around the farm, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, here we go again. But now, like, it's so true. I wouldn't, if it wasn't for modern agriculture, doing, modern farmers doing what they do to raise the food and fiber that we depend on, and taking the risk of that $1 million bank loan to grow a crop that they may not make much money off of. If it wasn't for those guys, we wouldn't be able to work at Elephant and Farm Bureau without worrying about where's our food coming from.
Right.
We're not that far removed. You think about it, 100 years from, in the past, people
had to
grow their own food in the backyard. So we have such a luxury of getting to go. There's a farmer's market happening right around the corner
right now. Yeah, we
can go there and buy food. Mm-hmm. We don't have to go there and buy food. We can go to Walmart. We can go to Albertsons, wherever. We have such a luxury today because of the risk that farmers like my dad and your uncle and a ton of others across the state, mm-hmm. across the country, because of the risk they take. And so, what kind of, I think, a big part of our goal as a TV show is and as a department really, is to show that story and be like, hey, there are probably some things that we can always do better when it comes to conservation, or it comes to, safe practices and all this stuff. But farmers are the first ones that want to do that. Like, they don't need us to tell them that. Mm-hmm. So just that's kind of what we talk about a lot, and I don't really get to say it very often. And this isn't the best dinner conversation. Sometimes it'll get kind of it can get kind of heated sometimes with people that are very passionate about GMOs or whatever.
A lot of people think they know a lot, but usually they don't really know as much as they think they do.
And I want to clarify, I don't even pretend to think I know everything about the science mm-hmm. of GMOs and the chemicals that farmers use, but I promise you this: farmers don't want to use any more chemicals than they have to, because that crap costs money.
Right.
And that money they have to pay back at the end of the year.
Yeah. So
one less treatment of chemicals is more money in their bank, in their mm-hmm. account to work with. So
so y'all are doing talk to me about your day-to-day stuff. You're doing like the show per week still, right?
Well, since quarantine, we've been doing a little bit more lax. We're doing like every other week, which that's fixing to, I think, change. But we want to do weekly shows. It's This Week in Louisiana Agriculture. So
like when you say the week, like before quarantine stuff, you talk about the weekly show. Mm-hmm. That's like a 30-minute kind of like
30-minute television show every week.
And you have what goes into it? What is the show?
It'll be 4 or 5 stories, like I'm talking about, where I go introduce. Maybe I'll do a story maybe on, Butch Oaks, who's a poultry farmer in Ouachita Parish. And, I've done a profile on him, and he talks about why he farms and, some issues he faces. And I put pretty video over it, hopefully, and tell his story. And that may be one of 5 or 6 stories in the show.
Okay.
It's
primarily focused on showing stories of farmers in the state.
Yeah, but we also this coming week we're working on that show, and this coming week we'll have I did a story on corn harvest, because that's just getting kicked off. I did a story with a guy in Lake St. John, and Neil, one of my coworkers, is doing a story about the Mississippi River being dredged, mm-hmm. and that a big bunch of money came out.
Yep.
And that helps. Why does that matter to farmers? Because commerce moves down the river. Lots of barges of grain gets moved down the river, and if the river is not dredged and these barges and ships can't move, mm-hmm. they're sitting stuck on the river. So Neil's doing a story on that. I think we have a story about farm called Local Cooling Farms in New Orleans, or actually, I think it's actually in Bogalusa, but it's a couple that has also they're mainly working out of the New Orleans market, and it's like a micro farm. It's like 20 or 30 acres, super small, but it's all like, farm, like fresh, open, like free range chickens, and they have hogs and some cattle, and they're very, very small footprint, but they're very, I guess, creative in their marketing and ways that they're able to make a living as a couple with 20 acres as a farm.
That's cool.
So there's quite the variety, and we also have a cooking segment that we do every month.
Okay.
So it's called Field to Feast, where Jennifer, one of our coworkers, she goes out, interviews a farmer in the field, and talks about what goes into raising this crop in the field, and then teams up and usually has a chef with her in the field. I think a lot of the times she has a great relationship with a guy named Tori McPhail, who's out of New Orleans, who's part of I think he's the executive chef at Commander's Palace.
Okay.
You ever heard of that?
Nope.
Super nice restaurant, New Orleans.
Sweet.
But he goes out. He's really big on like farm to table. So he'll go out to the field, talk about the product.
Kill the cow.
Maybe not kill the cow, but talk to the farmer that raised the cow.
Yeah.
They've gone to like a butcher shop before and
that's cool.
Seen talk to the farmer about what goes into raising this product, and then they take it back to the kitchen and prepare it in a way that we can follow along and do it ourselves. So that's kind of what's in the show this coming week. So it's not just a bunch of drone footage of some corn harvest. There will be that.
Nice.
But it's also stuff that I think, people that aren't on farms would care about.
That's cool.
That's kind of the goal.
So is that all y'all are doing? Or y'all do?
No, so we have a TV show. We have, we're always on social media. We're posting clips and pictures and, sharing articles about things that are maybe of interest to our
to the farmers or the people
to people that maybe are interested in agriculture but work at a bank. So we're doing social media, the TV show. We have some very farmer focused things that we do in our department because we're the communications department. We have to communicate things about the organization as well. So we do some very farmer centric like newsletters that are like, hey, here's what here's what's coming down the road from some federal, the stimulus packages. Here's how farmers can benefit from that. Which that's a terrible example because people are going to say, oh, farmers are welfare farmers, and they're just looking for a government check. But
aren't we all just looking for a government check?
Yeah, I can't wait
just
for
kidding.
one. But I mean that's not the case. Farmers just need to stay in business. But but we'll do a daily newsletter to farmers. Farmers, just news stories across the state that farmers might find interesting.
Cool.
And we do podcasts. That's what you wanted to talk about, I feel like.
Of course.
I love podcasts.
All of it. So you have the TV show. Y'all post a lot on social clips and YouTube clips and things, but most of that content's coming from stuff that you're generating for the TV show.
Correct.
And then newsletter. And then do you have anything that you're filming that is dedicated to something other than the TV show, or is it all coming from the TV show content mainly?
There's times we go out and do stuff. We're a pretty small department.
So who all's in it?
So it's me, Neil Melanson.
And what does he do?
He's the co-producer of the show. Me and him are the co-producers of the show. Avery Davidson is the director of the department.
Okay.
And he helps anchor the show. He's an old news guy.
Nice.
And then you got Kristen Oakes White, her married name.
Okay. Does she have a hyphen?
Oakes hyphen White.
Nice.
Who does all our social media stuff, and she co-anchors as well. And you got Monica Velasquez, our graphic designer, and then Jennifer Finley, who's our newest member of the department.
Okay,
who does,
6 people.
She does the cooking segments, and just does mostly video projects and stuff. So Jennifer, for instance, will go out and do stories and do little just things that might just go to social directly.
Okay.
And I'll do the same. We all kind of do a lot of that as we can, but because we're such a small group, a lot of times we'll like hey, what can we go out and get for the show this week?
Right.
But during quarantine, we've been trying to do more social stuff, just little clips to share online and stuff. We'll also I lost my train of thought.
We have a lull. We're going to talk about podcasting. Is that what you're?
Oh, podcasting, yes. So we all have plenty to do, but because I love podcasts, I love listening to podcasts, I was like, you know what? We have all this content that all these conversations we're always having around the department. I think we could probably come up with some more content, and not to go like too Gary V, but like we can always put more content out. Mm-hmm. So podcasts kind of came to mind, and I started off thinking about the TV show we do. We have 5 or 6 stories in there, and we always find ourselves in our department just sitting around like just chatting about, oh man, I went on this shoot, and I was actually not even planning to shoot this video, but I was driving home and the sun was looking just right. It was setting, and there was a guy picking cotton in just the right spot. So I just pulled over on the side of the road and put my drone out, but then I wrecked my drone into the cotton field. Those kind of stories that don't make it on the TV show, but we can explain that.
So it's
talk
like
about
a
that.
behind the scenes
Kind
podcast
of behind the scenes.
type.
Yeah, we'll talk through kind of the show and like.
By the way, let's pause for a second. Can you tell me, like, I mean, I know what it is, but for the people listening, what the social media accounts are? Because you have a Farm Bureau, but you also have a Twyla.
Yeah, so this week in Louisiana agriculture.
Okay.
We have a Facebook and Instagram. We have a Facebook and our Instagram is, I think, Twyla TV.
TWILA.
TWILA.
Okay.
So everybody, we call it Twyla a lot.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, where did that come from? It's this week.
Right. In Louisiana agriculture.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So those are the 2 places, Louisiana Farm Bureau or This Week in Louisiana Agriculture. You should be able to find either one of those on most of the places, Twitter,
Okay.
Instagram, Facebook.
And YouTube.
YouTube is only This Week in Louisiana Agriculture.
Got it.
It gets kind of confusing because we are Louisiana Farm Bureau.
Yeah.
But Twyla is one of our brands that we maintain out of that. Mm-hmm. And even Farm Bureau people that, maybe are members but not super involved, they don't
Right.
They don't make the connection, which is, I think, somewhat by design. I think that's early design, to kind of market towards
The public.
the non-farmer public that would be turned off by Louisiana Farm Bureau TV.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. So, but yeah, so we do that podcast started off as just like, hey, let's talk through these stories and what, funny stories happened, or, oh, I got stuck and this farmer had to pull me out with his, $500,000 tractor, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Which they're usually pretty fun stories, involved in that. I like it. I think it's easy because we already know our stories and we talk about them all the time anyways. So it's just sitting around in our radio room. It's another thing I didn't talk about. We do radio reports that we send out to all a bunch of rural
radio stations. Okay.
For like market updates and things like that.
Is that like daily also?
That's daily.
Wow.
That's a beast.
So you just record an audio clip and email it off and they play it on air?
Avery does all that.
Okay.
Director. He does a lot of that. He and Neil. Because Neil's been in the department for a long time and he's worn a lot of hats, and that was one of his hats one day. But so we do the radio. We do that podcast, the Twyla After Show is what we call it. We also, one of my pet projects has been, which I've pretty much since quarantine just kind of shut it down because, like this, you can't beat one-on-one.
Yeah. No one likes Zoom interviews.
No. So and a lot of, be frankly honest, a lot of farmers can't get a reliable internet connection and have a decent Zoom meeting. Mm-hmm. So I've been just kind of put that on pause, but that's Louisiana Farm Life is my pet project where I go out and just interview farmers. A lot of time it started off because I was thinking about all these farmers I go and do profiles on, and I have to condense it down to 3 minutes for the TV show. But I'll spend an entire day with them, and I'm just like, man, there's so much story here. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of goes back to that purpose of what Farm Bureau is about, is humanizing these farmers and saying, no, this is John. He's a farmer, but he's also a deacon at his church, and he's also, loves to take his family out on the lake every weekend or this is Kellen, who enjoys having a day off so he can go play golf.
Mm-hmm. And a farmer playing golf? Wow.
Right? Yeah. So it kind of trying to humanize these farmers that people think are just these, all they do is sit in a tractor all day, and that's not.
Right. That's what I think they do, and work on tractors all day.
Yeah.
So is that all the podcast? I don't want to cut it off.
Yeah. The Twilight After Show, the Louisiana Farm Life, which is just hopefully, I mean, I like to talk about more than just farming on those. And then we have one called Grassroots Government.
That's the one that goes all the government policies that could affect farmers.
Yeah, we talk with our lobbyist and our national affairs guy.
Got it.
Talk about federal issues. Like we've been busy during quarantine talking about those things, how different stimulus packages may affect and what to be ready for and aware of, and but also state politics. Like, hey, here's, this bill is active, and a lot of times it started out as like a little video project that the lobbyists and I were doing, just a weekly update on like, hey, here's what happened this week in the Capitol. Shout out to this representative for getting this bill passed through. We appreciate you.
Cool.
That's just kind of here's where you're.
Yeah, just like the keeping people updated.
Yeah, here's what your membership and your policies, how they're kind of making their way to Baton Rouge.
So I want to talk about, like, tell me kind of what, because whenever you do like a story, so you're doing a story for this show, for this week, whatever, you are going out, you're picking someone, going out and doing a profile on them. Tell me about, on one hand, how, like, you pick somebody, how you can maybe even convince them to let you come film their life, and then what your thoughts are, or how do you kind of prep and plan in your own mind to go out and tell their story or like capture them. And then also, if you want to throw some details in, and we're like maybe in the last 20-ish minutes of, we might have to text our ladies.
They're texting us. I'm going to looking up a text right now.
Okay, good.
From this week, because I had to
convince somebody.
Yeah, go ahead.
So finish your question. And then if you want to sprinkle in, like what equipment you take with you, what setup you have for your camera, your audio, do you mic people, what drone do you use? Do you use lighting? Do you all that stuff? And then how do you edit and produce? Like, I want it all.
How do I do all of my job?
Yeah.
All right.
What is your job?
So I'll start with like setting up a story. So,
which is really probably gonna, like, I think is, if you could kind of explain maybe the general approach and like how, because that's like the, people will, he's got a Mavic drone and he mics, but this part, I think if you could convey, this will help me understand how it happens.
So it'll honestly start with like we'll have a meeting at the office and be like, all right, what's on the show for next week? And I'll be like, well, corn harvest is kind of cranking up. I might go do a story on that. Or you need to take a phone call?
Nope, I'm doing the auto text response.
Got you. So I'll maybe say like, okay, corn harvest is starting up, or rice harvest is getting ready to go. I'm going to go do a story on that. I might reach out to a couple of guys. Like, we have another department. We have a commodity department that has 3 guys that deal with all these different commodities across the state. So I might be like, hey, and this actually happened for the last few weeks. I've been working with Andy Brown, the guy I was telling you about, my buddy. But he's on those, like, he's on rice and corn, cotton. I don't know about cotton, but a lot of grains he handles. So I was like, hey, you got any rice farmers that I could go do a story on? And he's like, yeah, let me make a few phone calls. And he kind of helped me find a few rice guys. And I'll just be like, all right, cool. So I'll reach out to those guys. Say, hey, I'm looking to do some kind of just a general harvest something. Can I come out and shoot some video? Maybe do a little interview with you. And with, like, for that, when I don't know these guys, I'll just, like, usually a big cold call, or I'll maybe use a guy that I do know. I mean, I've been doing this for almost 5 years now, so I've gotten some contacts around the areas where I can kind of use as, like,
drop a name drop or something.
Yeah, hey, Alan gave me your name. I wanted to see about coming out and see the farm and see what y'all are doing. So I kind of maybe use that some, but I'll just show up at the farm sometimes. These guys I don't know, and I'll just like jump in the pickup with them or get in the combine with them and ride around and just talk with them, get to know them.
Nice.
It's kind of I got to really get to know somebody really quick, to be able to tell their story. It takes, for sure. I'm not trying to say it takes some mad skills, but you got to really kind of. I've learned to really interview, like in a kind of a pre-interview way, like when I'm not actually, rolling on the camera, just like kind of get to the bottom of like what makes this guy click. And sometimes it takes all day. Sometimes it just takes a good tractor ride with the right question. Mm-hmm. But I'll do that a lot of times and just chat. And then
what is the right question to get them to tell you?
It depends per farmer. Sometimes it's like, for the other day I was talking to a guy and I said, why do you? He mentioned something about market prices and they're kind of in the crapper right now.
Yeah.
But he was talking about needing that some government money, some payments, like insurance payments, and I hate to say those things, but getting those so he can stay in business. And he said that a couple times in a couple different ways. He's like, I'm not trying to make money off the government. I just want to be able to stay in business to do this job that I love so much. And once I hear something like that, I'm like, oh, this guy's passionate about it. And then I'll just kind of maybe dig into that, or like, so wait, you don't want government money? No, I don't. And he'll say that kind of stuff. So sometimes it's just hearing the right thing they'll say and I'll just jump on it. But I'll just try to get to kind of a really quick, idea of who this guy is. Sometimes it's a farmer. I might have gotten a lead on somebody, be like, hey, you should do a story on this guy. He collects classic Mercuries. Old cars. He's a soybean farmer, but he also does this. I didn't do this story myself, but a coworker of mine did. And it's like one of those things you find. It's like, yeah, what's driving this guy? Well, he's actually what's driving him is his love for driving an old Mercury. Whatever it may be. And it's like you can find those little stories, and it's like it's fun, but you wouldn't know that if somebody didn't.
Yeah.
Like say, hey, you should reach out to this guy because he has like a garage full of old cars.
Yeah.
Or, this guy, he's a farmer, but he also does this. And also whenever I go to reach out to that farmer, I kind of have an idea of where I'm trying to guide the conversation.
Okay.
So that's kind of I can get a story from anywhere. I'll see a newspaper article, or I'll get people, and I get people pretty often. I'll just I'll say, okay, I haven't done anything in the nursery business, for instance. We just had the yard landscape, so I was like popped in my head. I'm like, I need to reach out to some nursery guys. That's agriculture.
Yeah.
So I called a guy and he was like, hey, you got any stories? Anything going on? I'm just like cold calling, just fishing for stories. So that's how I kind of find stories to do.
Okay. How far out do you plan visits to people?
Sometimes a couple days, sometimes a couple weeks.
Okay.
It just kind of depends. A lot of times, it's hard sometimes with farmers. Like they're like, don't have anything planned.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the day I'm planning to start cutting corn.
Right.
So it might be, hey, I'll give you a call next week and let you know what it's looking like. And I might be like on the road that afternoon. Mm-hmm. He might call me at 10 a.m. and be like, hey, I think we're going to cut today. So I'll just get in the truck and drive to, wherever. So sometimes it's pretty last second. This past Thursday, Andy and I were going to go try to find some guys harvesting corn. And he'd reached out to a few guys and had some guys lined up, but one guy got broke down and another guy had gotten caught up. He'd cut all the corn that was ready and was having to wait around, so he wasn't cutting. Mm-hmm. So like the day that we were planning on going, we get those texts like, hey, we're not. So we're like, well, crap, I still wanted to go. So we just started like calling people that we knew in the area and like, hey, what other farmer is cutting? We found a couple guys that were cutting and like we're able to go and reach out to. And then Kristen, my coworker, she lives in Natchez and her husband farms in like Concordia, kind of near your uncle.
Okay, yeah.
And near Monterey. So we
that's
called
right by my uncle.
Huh?
That's right by my uncle's. Yeah.
Deer Park.
Yep. My uncle's is just north of Deer Park.
Yeah. So anyways, I call Landon and he kind of gives me a few names and we kind of were comparing those to some names that Andy had gotten from a different guy. And we're like, okay, this guy's name came up twice. We need to reach out to him.
Yeah.
And one of the guys, Kristen, reached out to and was like, hey, are you still cutting corn? And he texts back 3 hours later and is like, I'm not going to lie. Didn't text back because I didn't want y'all to bring those cameras out here. But yeah, we got started this afternoon. And it's like, that's what you deal with sometimes. It's some people don't want to tell their story. And that's kind of it's a sad reality, but it's a reality. So sometimes we're just having to like sweet talk your way. I was telling Andy this, like if I can get a farmer to let me, and that happened with the guy Thursday that I interviewed, talked about, not really wanting a government check. He said, "You're welcome to come out and shoot some video, but I really don't want to do an interview." Mm-hmm. And after I shot some drone video and I went and shot some footage around, the combine and stuff, and them cutting, we were just talking. I was asking how harvest has been and what the numbers are like, and just making shop talk around we're literally sitting on his tailgate just chatting, the three of us, and I was like, let me mic you up. Can you just tell me that on camera? Whatever it was that you said. And he's like, I guess I can tell you that. And I end up talking myself into a 10-minute interview on camera.
Nice, yeah.
So it's like, I feel like if I can get onto a farm, for the most part, I can work my way into an interview. I'm not saying I'm that awesome, and just
it's just like
farmers
getting to
realize,
know somebody.
And that's one of the things, like, I think people think of the cameras that we bring, and I'll tell you what those are in a second if you got a second.
For sure.
The cameras that we bring, and they're thinking, oh, it's like the WBRZ. They're coming out to do a hatchet job on agriculture. Well, that's not what we're in. We're in the business of making farmers look good as possible. And I think sometimes farmers just think that doesn't exist anywhere. So once I get out there and I start talking about the fact that I'm from a farm and all I want to do is make them look good, it kind of eases their mind a little bit. So that's kind of like if I know there's a guy that's a little bit hesitant, that's what I try to disarm them with that. And like, I'm not in the business of hatchet jobs.
Right. Not some city boy coming out to.
Yeah, which is funny because I usually come out there in skinny jeans and, a polo, and they're like.
And clean.
And clean, a clean truck.
Out there sweating and busting. And
so I it's funny you say a city boy because I kind of feel like I'm really trapped in the middle of country boy and city boy because, like, I really love the country and I come from the country, but I also wear, slimmer cut pants and live in the city and enjoy the city conveniences. So it's like, I feel like I'm not country enough for country folks. I'm probably not city enough for city folks. So
yeah, that's good. That's a good place to be. Unique.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it. My wife reminds me often I'm really country.
I do too.
Country folks remind me often I am real city. So
nice.
I don't know what to make of it.
Your wife definitely is not country.
Not at all.
Yes, and my wife.
I love her though. Real quick, you asked about camera gear. I'll tell you, I use like Canon, like DSLRs.
Okay.
I have a 7D Mark II. I have an EOS R, the new mirrorless camera they just came out with.
Yeah.
I have a C100 Mark II, which is kind of more cinematic camera. I actually just not broke it, but it's got some kind of a problem in a chip somewhere because it's getting real glitchy on my.
Oh, really?
On my recordings. That sucks because it's one of my favorite cameras. And I've also got a Canon XF705, which is like their newest camcorder, like just made
actual video.
Actually, yeah. Which the C100 is a video camera too, but this one's like what you would see a local news guy carrying around probably.
Okay.
So it's nice. It's kind of the ready to go.
So what about the audio? Like, how do you hook up?
So with audio, I'm using I have on most of my cameras, I have a shotgun mic. The video cameras, I have shotgun mics. I've also got some Sennheiser AVX, I think is for anybody that cares, AVX series wireless
lapels.
Lapel.
Yeah. And
I've got a handheld mic I can use with that. It's all wireless. But I typically just put the lapel on them, and I kind of pride myself on, like, most times I put a mic on a farmer and, they're all like, oh, I got a microphone on me. And then 2 or 3 minutes later, I kind of have talked them into forgetting that they even have a microphone on.
Yeah.
So they always try to take it and like forget they have it on and start walking off.
So you record the audio on a separate recorder, not connected?
No, it actually all is. And my favorite way to do it is recording it all directly to the camera I'm shooting with. Cause
the cameras you can hook a shotgun, but it also can take a wireless.
Yeah, the C100 and the XF705, both of those have multiple XLR inputs.
Okay.
So I'll use those as much as I can, and even I have like the cable I can use to go into my like EOS R if I wanted to, so I can do wireless audio right into the cameras, and I like that way because that's one less step on the back end.
Right. I was about to ask,
matching it all up.
Can you change individual levels in post if you do it that way?
Yeah, so I'll have like on the 2 video cameras, I'll have like my shotgun mic on one channel and my lapel mic on another. And there's been times where I've needed that shotgun mic for an interview because my lapel battery went out or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I'm still able to use that. It's not as good, but I can still use that shotgun mic.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all that post editing. There's a lot of stuff you can do.
What do you edit in?
I edit in Premiere, Adobe Premiere.
Okay.
Audio and Audition for podcasts. I pretty much everything Adobe.
Adobe Suite.
I love it.
And you have what kind of drone do you have?
Mavic 2 Pro.
Oh, is that the new one?
It's the one with the Hasselblad.
What's that?
It's one of their Hasselblad actually makes like $40,000 like still cameras.
Really?
They're insane, but they're incredible.
Wow.
They're like it's called like a medium format camera.
Is this the new one?
It's
like when did you get that?
I think it's a couple years old.
Oh, okay. What's that? Oh, maybe I'm thinking of the Mavic Air 2.
I think that they've come out with a couple like that. But the one I'm shooting with is like the Mavic 2 Pro.
Okay.
And it's awesome. It's got a bigger sensor, a bigger camera. Mm-hmm. I mean, think about like my iPhone has a pretty good camera. That's what I would consider something like the Mavic, the first Mavic I have, the Mavic Pro. Mm-hmm. And then this one has something like what would be in a DSLR, like a medium format camera. It's just a bigger sensor, so it can bring in more data, and it's just the colors. It's just so sharp and so rich. It's beautiful.
That's legit.
That's my favorite camera to shoot with. People ask me, they'll see all the gear I have in the back of my truck, and they're like, "Dang, you got all this gear!" And I'm like, "Yeah." Then I'll pull out of a backpack my little Mavic and unfold it, and but this is my favorite camera because I can fly it.
Right. Drones are amazing.
Flying is another one of my obsessions. We didn't even get into.
I know we didn't even get.
I want to fly one day. I want to get my pilot's license. We're gonna get our pilot's license.
We're gonna do that'll be round 2.
Dude,
once you start.
You need to get somebody that owns a plane, that owns a pilot, like a flight instructor or something
on here.
He'd be a great.
That would be great.
Guest.
I know people. I know a guy who, BTR Jet.
Yeah.
The only charter flights out of Baton Rouge. I know the guy who owned it and recently sold it, but still works there. I need to hit him up. He's a custom knife collector.
Maybe we could go do it at the terminal there.
That'd be
private
sweet.
Terminal.
We're talking about this.
Flight.
We're talking about this because, as I mentioned, Karl helps me with my podcast.
I'm always blowing Chase's phone up about
that would be we definitely need to because that would be awesome to talk about, and we're both gonna get our pilot's license
and share
at some point.
We need to go just halves in on a plane.
You're right. We should do that.
I mean, it's just money.
All we need is that $1 million listener to sponsor the podcast.
That one listener. We're going to use your money very wisely to buy a very nice plane.
With your brand on it. We will put your brand on the side of the plane and advertise it.
We will wrap that thing all the way.
And
fly you wherever you want to go.
That's right. We will.
That money will also go to pay for our...
No. It's just for the plane.
Well, I mean...
It's just for the plane.
But it's also going to pay for us to get licensed to fly said plane.
Oh, right. Of course. Official license.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, what was the first story you went out and did on your own?
Oh, man. So I did an internship at Farm Bureau.
Okay. I guess that's how you got in.
That's how I got in, yeah. We didn't even talk about that. But
yeah.
It's been a blessing, and everything's kind of worked out like it should have, and it's been awesome. I say like it should have. Like a dream. I mean, it's been awesome. But
like you planned it since your birth?
No, but it couldn't have worked out more perfectly for me. Because it's not a lot of turnover at Farm Bureau. So getting lucking into a time where there was a little bit of turnover is whoa, that's pretty fortunate. But my first story I did as an intern was...
They let you go out by yourself as an intern?
Yeah, that was part of my internship. Was
wow,
you got to learn to use a camera, and it was a summer internship. It was a very very compact, truncated kind of internship. And I went out and did a story about Dairy Day.
Dairy Day?
Dairy Day.
Okay,
it's a thing in the Florida parishes where there's still a few dairies. There's not many dairies left in the state. And I went and did a story on Dairy Day. It's like a kid, kind of like day they had a bunch of 4-H'ers out there and a few, but it was mainly a day for a bunch of dairymen to kind of get together bring their kids and the 4-H'ers, and they would come and present some dairy related FFA awards maybe and stuff like that. Had no clue what it was. I just went out there and I was it was horrible. I watch it back here and then I'm just like, man, that was terrible. That was the first one I did.
What was bad about it? Everything?
Oh man, just the writing, my voiceover.
Oh, so you legit did everything. Like you did voiceover, the filming.
And it took me probably 2 weeks to do.
Really?
It's horrible. But I mean, the writing was bad. The voiceover was bad. I mean, the editing was. I mean, I was in college still. It was.
So how long does it take you to do a one story right now?
I can do it in a few hours.
Okay, so you go out and film, and then you could potentially have the story done at the end of the day.
Yeah, I did a rice story a couple weeks ago, and I was trying to get out of the office to go to the beach. So I was trying to get it all knocked out, and I was like, I had a bunch of really good B-roll, had 2 interviews to work with, and I pretty much went from the time that I sat down and started putting down, like pulling out sound bites that I was going to use, writing the script to connect all the sound bites, and doing the story and editing it, probably 4 or 5 hours maybe total.
Nice. So the first one took you 2 weeks.
Oh yeah. and honestly, there were times even after I started. So that was the first internship story I did. My first story after being hired officially was at Grand Isle. And it was
the paradise of Grand Isle.
It was like a day later, like the day I walked in, I got my keys to my new vehicle, company vehicle, big time perk.
Wow, dude. You're so rich.
I was given my camera gear and kind of a crash course in the gear. And the next day I drove down to Grand Isle, first time in my life to go to Grand Isle and meet this guy that I didn't know and do this story that was due. So I started on a Monday and I had to have the story done for Wednesday for the first show. And I was like, oh crap. And it was also about oysters, which I had no clue about the industry. There was some kind of they were opening the Bonnie Carey spillway or something, and it was affecting oyster beds. And I was like, so I had to learn all I could about why that was an issue and why that would be a story. And then drove down there, got the interview, came back and tried to put that together. And I was at the office all night looking through footage because I didn't know what we had like in the archives I could work with. So it was atrocious. That story was garbage.
Sure, it wasn't that bad.
Come a long ways.
What's like the sketchiest situation you've been in, like out on a farm or somebody getting mad at you for like filming them, or have you had any stories like that?
I mean, most times I'm not going to actually end up on a farm. I'm trying to think. I don't think I've had many of those. I've run out of gas a couple times.
Nice.
Because I'm an idiot. One of them was on the way to my dad's farm.
Nice.
Felt so stupid.
I bet he made fun of you for that.
Oh yeah, he took pictures and put it on Facebook. That was fun. No real sketchy. Nothing really.
Okay, nothing too crazy.
Nothing too
That's
wild.
Probably good.
I'm sure. I mean, I'm not knocking, but I think probably if I got into the fisheries and did some seafood stories, it could probably get a little weird because some of those guys, and I'm not. It's just a very kind of a Wild West type of a industry.
Nice.
Like,
sounds interesting.
Very competitive, and that could be. I could probably find myself in a pickle down there, but I want to do some stories like that.
Have you ever interviewed someone that you, because of their heavy accent, had to put subtitles on?
I've never had to, but I know
some Cajun peeps.
Honestly, the closest thing I probably would have done would have been somebody. It was a professor at LSU.
What?
Not a.
Oh, he's okay from another country.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Not a.
So no Louisiana person.
No Louisiana like heavy accent.
I was like thinking maybe
there have been times where I had to like. I've had to like say, what did he say? And I wouldn't use it if I couldn't figure it out.
Right.
Like, what did he say? But I did need to figure it out for the sake of the story.
Right. Okay.
But
yeah, I was picturing maybe some shrimper down in the bayou and talking
down to bayou.
Yeah. And then you put subtitles like swamp people.
Yeah. No, I don't think I've ever done any stories with people like that, which, I mean, there probably have been some where that's pretty heavy accents, but not so much that I have to put subtitles.
Cool.
There's some accents in Louisiana.
There is. There's quite a wide range. All right. Last thing before we cut it off, because there was like a few other things we could have talked about. I didn't think about flying because we haven't actually stepped into it yet. So I think like once we officially step into it, then we could really. Anyways, you drive like a lot. Mm-hmm. So first question: do you know how many miles per year you drive? Just curiosity.
I drive a lot, but not like there are people that drive a lot more than me.
Okay, so maybe not crazy.
No, probably 35,000 miles a year.
That's pretty good, though.
40,000 miles a year.
That's a lot. Okay,
we get new trucks at certain points, and I know how often I get a new vehicle.
Once you run it in the ground.
No, didn't make it to the ground. But
so that question leads into, for our last little thing here, tell me a few of your favorite podcasts to listen to.
So I like Armchair Expert. My wife's called me. Did your wife call you?
Nope.
Whoops. We're coming, babe.
They might be here already.
Are they here? Oh, well. Podcast. So I listened to Armchair Expert with Dak Shepard.
Yep.
A friend of mine got me into that. He interviews like other celebrities, which is kind of fun. One of my dailies is literally The Daily by New York Times. It's like one story of news. Like it's like the cover story for the New York Times in audio form with they're speaking with the reporter that wrote that story, and then like that reporter has some recordings of interviews with sources. So it's very like it's very well done. I listen to that. I listen to Armchair Expert. I like there's a few of them by Wondery. There's one called Blood Ties. It's like a drama.
Blood Ties.
Blood Ties. It's like a 25-minute episode of like a drama you'd be watching. It's very well done.
It's like a fictional story.
Fictional. It's got Josh Gad as one of the voices.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So they have like professional. I've listened to a few like that, but they're just they're like 6 or 7 episode seasons, and then the story picks back up at season 2.
Cool.
But season 2 just came out of Blood Ties, and I'm looking through my thing.
Yep.
That one, I'd listen to that. Listen to Imagine Life.
Never heard of that one.
It's pretty awesome. It's like 45-minute episodes, which I like the longer episodes. It's 45 minutes where they're like talking about, like they're telling this entire story. You don't know who they're talking about until the very end. You're kind of guessing the whole time. You're like,
that's kind of like what Mike Rowe does on his podcast.
It's like a 45-minute version of that.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, very much like.
What's a couple of the people that they've done?
Vladimir Putin.
Oh, okay.
Had no idea.
Wow.
Elton John.
Is it mainly current or is it historical also?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of anybody. Oh, there's like Frank Lloyd Wright was one.
Okay.
Architect. I didn't know who. I would have never guessed it, but it was fascinating. The stories are really cool, and it's all some fiction. Some of it's based on like good research. Oh crap! The girl that wrote all the Harry Potters.
Oh, J.K. Rowling.
That one was really good.
Really?
It was fascinating, and I was just like, because anyways, can't give it away, but
so that's
Imagined Life.
Imagined Life. Okay.
I listened to one called American History Tellers because I'm a nerd.
Okay. That's about American history, I assume.
About American history. It's like 6 episode seasons about, kind of different like eras. So there's like one on Prohibition. There's one on World War II. There's one on like the Bastard Brigade and like the Great Depression and
that's cool.
National parks and how national parks became a thing. So that's it's interesting. And it's done by Wondery, so it's done really well.
Yeah.
Kind of the same type of stuff. There's some fiction in there probably, but it's all to tell stories, and it's actual. There's some. I listened to one called Chase Doesn't Know.
Oh, that sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Slow
Shameless
Burn.
plug.
Slow Burn.
Slow Burn. Okay, never heard of that one.
Check it out. Slow Burn. Dadville.
That sounds like.
Did I talk to you about that?
No, I haven't heard this.
Dude, you got to check that one out. It's Dave Barnes and John McLaughlin.
Dave Barnes. Oh, okay. Yeah.
And they interview different dads, but they're also interviewing dads that they're friends with in the business. So
the business of music.
Yeah, like they had Chris Tomlin on.
Okay.
Which was interesting because they're friends with Chris Tomlin. They talk about like being a dad, but also like being a dad in the music industry and how to be a good dad. And it's pretty wholesome and like
that's cool.
They talk about like very like good practices as a dad, like how to make your children feel special, The last one was with Andy Grammer. It was less wholesome. It was some potty mouth. Oh, Andy has a potty mouth, but it was a really good episode. I would highly recommend that one.
Okay.
It's really funny.
They got solid dad jokes or what?
Oh, full of dad jokes.
All right, good.
And that's cool. Like the. Let me see if I can find. The thumbnail is like one of those old classic armchairs.
Lawn chairs, love it.
Like from the lawn, yeah.
Nice.
Anyways, that's pretty much all of them. I don't know.
Sweet.
Armchair. Oh, Business Wars. That's another Wondery one. Fascinating.
Okay.
Check it out if you're ever driving. I listen to all these. I'll listen to an entire season on one day. I'll drive 500-600 miles in a day.
That's a lot.
Sometimes going to a farm and back. So I've got plenty of time to listen to podcasts. Business Wars, I think, starts off with Netflix versus Blockbuster.
Oh, nice.
So and then there's like Nike versus Adidas, and there's Pepsi versus Coke, and it's like, or Sony versus Nintendo.
Cool.
So it's pretty fascinating. Like,
yeah.
You're in, like, you can probably find a season with something you're interested in.
Solid.
So
that's legit. Cool. Yeah, I figured you would definitely have some podcasts I've never heard of because you're on the road all the time.
Yeah, and Joe Rogan was not on any of those lists.
No, he's not.
I just can't do Joe. I don't know why.
Yeah, I think you're Joe. I mean,
armchair expert.
Yeah, you feel to Joe Rogan as I feel to armchair expert, and vice versa.
Yeah,
that might be like some psychological examination there. People who listen to Joe Rogan, people who listen to armchair. I'm probably being ridiculous. Probably not.
I feel like armchair is probably more pop culture that I find myself interested in, and Joe's probably more conspiracy and.
Well, I mean, he has a lot of
stuff,
different people on there. But
I do follow him on Instagram, and I did see he just put out a bunch of stuff about social justice, and not social justice. What's the word? Like justice for people like that have been.
Oh, the Innocence Project.
Innocence Project.
Yeah. I just started listening to that one actually.
And I'm like, I haven't listened to Joe Rogan podcast yet, but I may listen to that one.
You haven't listened to any Joe Rogan podcasts?
I think I listened to some of Elon Musk just because everybody was talking about it whenever he was smoking weed.
Yeah,
but
he's been on again too.
Yeah, talking about his child.
Yeah, XA12AE something.
Yeah.
Cool.
Anyways.
Well, we're about to go eat some food.
Let's go.
With our wives and my baby.
They're probably mad at us.
Probably so. But that's okay. We went only 20 minutes past our time. We were supposed to meet them for food. And we still have to record the intro and the outro.
Yeah, we can do that after lunch.
Maybe so.
Because we're all in separate vehicles.
Oh, that's right. 4 people in 4 separate vehicles. Economical we are.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks a lot, bro.
For the planet.
Thanks for sitting down and being the dedicated guest for an episode.
Oh, man, it's been fun.
Can't wait for the next one. Thanks, everybody, for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Karl and hearing about his farm and media world. I really enjoyed asking some detailed questions about what he does during his day job and then getting a little bit of education on house building and the whole experience. I enjoyed having him as the guest, even though he does some great color through some of the episodes. But of course, it's always great to have a conversation with a friend and get to know them a little more and explore some things. So thanks again, Karl. Really enjoyed it. And again, I want to say thanks to Raising Cane's of Central for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. I really appreciate your offer to keep me well fed with that delicious chicken and Raising Cane sauce for sponsoring this episode. And again, please go out and see Alan over at the Raising Cane's in Central. Tell him that you heard about him on the Chase Doesn't Know podcast, and you might get an extra chicken finger, maybe a little extra sauce or something. If you're smart, you would ask for an extra toast. Whether you're paying for it or getting it for free, always go for the extra toast. Me personally, definitely subbing the coleslaw for a toast. You can hate me for that. I don't really care. That's how I do it. Box combo, no slaw extra toast, large sweet tea, add a sauce. Thanks, everybody. See you on the next one.